The rain did not care. It fell on everyone equally. On the rich, the lost, on the grieving, the forgotten. She stood beneath the gray sky, her violin pressed to her chin. Her eyes were closed tight. She played like she was praying. Her name was Wren Calloway. She was 25 years old. She had no home to return to, no parents waiting with warm soup, no older brother texting to check in. Just the violin, a cracked, second-hand instrument she had carried since she was 9, the year both her parents died in a highway accident outside Columbus, Ohio. She had grown up between foster homes after that, quietly, carefully, learning not to need too much from anyone. But music she had let herself need completely. That evening, the corner of Maplewood and 5th was mostly empty. The rain had chased the usual foot traffic away. Wren had set out a small tin near her feet, out of habit, not hope. She played Dvorak, not because anyone asked, but because it was the only language she trusted fully. The notes rose through the wet air, soft and aching, and they did something strange. They stopped a man. His name was Colt Merritt. He was 33. He owned Harlow Sound, a mid-sized independent music label based in Nashville. But tonight he was in Cincinnati for a cousin's dinner. He had left early because the conversation had felt hollow. He was walking back to his hotel, collar turned up against the rain, umbrella already broken in his bag, and he was about to keep walking, the way people do, past musicians, past strangers, past the whole quiet world happening at the edges of their own lives. But he stopped. He stood there in the rain for 6 full minutes without moving. Wren did not notice him. She was somewhere else entirely. The music was doing what it always did. It was pulling her back and forward at the same time, back to the small girl who had sat in a chapel at her parents' funeral, holding the violin because no one told her to put it down, and forward to something she could not yet name. When she finally lowered the bow, she opened her eyes. Colt was still standing there, wet, unmoving. "You can keep walking," she said quietly. "Most people do." He looked at her for a moment. "Why would I want to do that?" She didn't answer. She tucked the violin under her arm and crouched to pick up the tin. $11. She folded them without counting. "You train somewhere," Colt said. Not a question. "Self-taught," she said. He blinked. Something shifted in his expression. "That's not possible. What you just played." "It's possible," Wren said simply, "when you have nothing else to do for 16 years. There was a long pause. The rain kept falling. A bus rolled past throwing a shallow wave of water against the curb. "My name is Colt," he said. He did not offer his profession. He had learned long ago that the moment he mentioned the label, conversations changed. People performed instead of talked. He wanted to hear her, the real her, before any of that. "Wren," she said. She did not shake his hand. She started walking. He walked beside her, a little surprised at himself. "Can I ask how long you've been playing out here?" 3 years, she said. Before that, shelters. Before that, a group home in Dayton. She said it the way someone says the weather, without apology or drama. Just fact. Colt felt something tighten in his chest. He had grown up middle class in Memphis, not wealthy, not poor, but steady. He had taken steadiness for granted for most of his life, until his business partner, years ago, had quietly stolen half their funding and disappeared. That had cost him 2 years of rebuilding. It had also cost him his faith in easy trust. He had become careful, guarded. He told himself it was professional instinct. "Where are you staying tonight?" he asked. "Room I rent by the week," she said. "Above a laundry. Loud, but warm." "That's something," he said. "That's everything," she replied. They reached the end of the block. She stopped. He stopped. She looked at him directly for the first time. Her eyes were dark and steady, the eyes of someone who had learned to read people quickly. "Why are you still walking with me?" "Honestly," he exhaled, "I don't know. But I think it would be wrong to walk away." She studied him. "Okay," she said. "Just that. Okay." They sat across from each other in a corner booth, under fluorescent light that made everything look equally tired and real. He ordered coffee. She ordered soup. She ate slowly, like someone who still remembered days when meals were uncertain. He told her then what he did. He watched her face carefully. She didn't light up. She didn't straighten in her seat. She just nodded once. "I figured it was something like that," she said. "You figured?" "You listened too carefully," she said. "Normal people don't stand in the rain for music. People in music do." He smiled. It was genuine. "Would you be open to recording something? A session. No pressure, no contract. Just a room and a microphone." She looked down at her soup. "Why?" "Because what I heard tonight," he paused. "I've been in this business 11 years, Ren. I've heard a lot of technically perfect players. What you do is different. You play like it costs you something." She was quiet for a long time. Outside, the rain softened to a drizzle. "I'd want to think about it," she said. "That's fair," he said. What Colt did not know, what he would not learn until weeks later, was that Ren had been approached once before. 2 years ago, a smaller label, a producer named Gerald Fitch, had heard her play and offered her a deal. She had signed, she had trusted, and Fitch had taken her recordings, removed her name, and sold the compositions under a house pseudonym. She had discovered it by accident, seeing her own melody in a television commercial, her bulwark unmistakable to her own ears. She had packed the evidence in a folder she still kept under her mattress, not out of hope, but out of memory, so she would not forget what it felt like to be used. That folder was why she hesitated now. Not because of Colt, because of herself. Because she had to make sure she still trusted her own judgment. She called the number he left her 8 days later. "I'll come to Nashville," she said, "but I want to see the studio first, before I sign anything." "Of course," he said. She came. She walked through Harlov Sound slowly, looking at everything. She spoke to 2 of the artists already signed. She asked them plain questions and listened to their plain answers. One of them, a folk singer named Delia, told her, "Colt is the kind of person who lets you be what you are. He doesn't try to smooth you out." Ren stood in the recording booth alone for 5 minutes before she played a single note. Then she played 3 songs, all original, all written in margins of library books and on the backs of receipts over the past 3 years. Music that had never had a room before. Music that had only ever known rain. Colt sat behind the glass. He did not say anything when she finished. His eyes were bright. He pressed the intercom. "Ren," he said, "that last piece, what is it called?" She looked through the glass at him. "I never named it," she said. "What was it about?" She thought for a moment. "About the difference," she said, "between being seen and being known." "You've been known your whole life," he said quietly. "You just didn't have anyone to tell you." She looked down at the violin in her hands. Something in her face opened slightly. Not a smile exactly, but the shape of one forming beneath the surface. The contract came the following week. She had a lawyer review it, a young public defender she had befriended at the library, who looked it over for free because she asked and explained why she was asking. Everything was clean. Everything was hers. She signed it on a Tuesday morning, sitting at the small table in her room above the laundry, the sound of machines spinning below her, her tin of savings on the counter, the folder under the mattress still there. Not out of fear now, but out of gratitude. A reminder of the road that had led to this one. Her debut album released the following spring. The 3rd track, still unnamed, became the one people held on to. Critics wrote about its rawness. Listeners wrote letters. One woman wrote to Ren's label address, "I played this for my daughter, who doesn't speak much anymore." She cried. Then she said, "Someone understands. Thank you for making this." Ren read that letter standing in the same diner where she and Colt had first sat. She folded it carefully and put it in her coat pocket. When she walked outside, the air was cool and clear. She stood on the sidewalk for a moment, just breathing. She thought of the rain. She thought of the girl who had played into it for 3 years, believing the music mattered even when no one stopped. And she thought of one man who had stopped, not to discover her, not to find a product, but simply because something real and human had landed in him, and he had been decent enough to stay. That, she thought, was the whole story. Kindness does not always announce itself. Sometimes, it is just a person who stands in the rain a little longer than they needed to. She had learned that the world could take from you. It had. She had also learned that it could give, quietly, unexpectedly, through the most ordinary acts of attention. A bowl of soup, an honest question, a room with a microphone and no pressure. She pulled out her phone and called Colt. "I want to write something new," she said. "Something about the corner of Maplewood and Fifth." She could hear the smile in his silence. "I'll book the studio," he said. "Tuesday?" "Tuesday," she said. She put the phone in her pocket and began walking. Not toward anything urgent, just walking, the way people do when they finally feel like they belong to their own life. The moral lives quietly in this story. Kindness is not a grand gesture. It is the choice to stay, to listen, to see a person past their circumstances and offer something real. One act of genuine human attention, given freely, without condition, can open a door that years of struggle could not. We all have the power to be that one person who stops. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.